Once upon a time, a lonely man took a rifle to the top of a Texas clock tower and introduced us to a kind of violence we'd never imagined. Today, that sniper's spiritual children have children of their own. 40 years ago, hitchhiking was a safe and liberating way to travel. Now, only someone with a death wish would hitchhike. It must be true. Everyone says so, right? A few decades ago, the only death in video games was the occasional invading alien, and it was about as graphic as using a pencil eraser. Now, video game death is so glamorously grisly that one of Al Capone's hitmen would be disturbed by what we offer our children. America, it seems, has gone to Hades in a designer handbag. And I'm here today to tell you that I know why. Because America got rid of the Demilition Dearthby. I know. Y'all laughed at the Demilition Dearthby. Marge, come see this. What the hell are these yokels up to? Yet it turns out that little slice of redneck rowdiness was providing a safe sublimation for a whole lot of pent-up violence. And more importantly, it was doing so with a touch of humor. A little giggle that made all the difference. Capitalism banished the Demilition Dearthby because it found something more profitable. The Monster Truck Rally! But there is nothing silly about a monster truck rally. And that tiny missing ingredient forced us to take violence more seriously. It made us forget that the only appropriate response to the insanity of violence is laughter. And nothing has been the same ever since. The Demilition Dearthby was, by the way, one of the few uniquely American creations. For all our bloated self-importance, America has contributed but 3 things to human culture: jazz, bulimia, and the Demilition Dearthby. For those not old enough to remember, the Derby consisted of the following. A bunch of cars would be gathered in the arena. The starter's flag would be waved, and the drivers would ram each other repeatedly until only one car was left moving. How brilliant. How pure. Degraded and idiotic, too, of course. But there is an ocean of subconscious desperation under the surface of the American dream. Like the rest of the world, our lives are a haze of sexual repression and fear-based alienation. None of us get the love or security we need. So the line between us and insanity is far, far thinner than most could ever admit. Budweiser, Twinkies, and reality TV are the only things standing between us and the abyss. Or lapdogs, prostitutes, and therapists. We never stop inventing substitutes for the love we're not getting. But that Derby, it gave us a vicarious outlet in which all the injustices of our lives were smashed until they moved no more. Until that one battered car, a proxy for our own maimed selves, emerged victorious. The Derby kept us sane, and we never knew it. Today's professional race drivers are pampered millionaires. We can't relate. We may want to be them, but deep down we don't like or trust them. Demolition drivers were amateurs, real people. We liked that. Europe tried to do the Demolition Derby too, but they couldn't bring themselves to drop the pretense that we need some kind of race to justify our violence. Screw the race. Just smash that fucker over there. I don't like the looks of him. The Derby is one of the things that made the rest of the world think that America truly was a land of rich, insane cowboys. Like bulimia, it only could have happened here. Only in a country completely out of touch with the poverty that pervades this planet could we make a disease that consists of eating a healthy meal and forcibly puking it. Only in a country completely out of touch with the vast areas of this planet that can't afford full-time electricity, or all the towns on the globe that have just one car or less, could we decide to intentionally destroy a whole bunch of cars for fun. Not to toot my own horn, but can I really be the first person to notice that bulimia and the Demolition Derby are essentially the same activity? And if they're the same activity, isn't it overwhelmingly likely that they are addressing the same need? Or in this case, the same self-loathing dysfunction? I'd say, gee, ain't it great to be a woman, if it weren't so obviously pathetic to be a man. Okay, I got a confession to make. I've been pulling your leg. I guess I just got sucked in by the silliness of the subject matter. Not only do I not believe that demolition derbies are the reason America has become more violent, I don't even buy the notion that America is more violent. Even if there be some nugget of partial truth in my derby hypothesis, America is just as violent as it ever was. If you don't see that, you haven't grasped the big picture. In days gone by, our violence was just better hidden and better institutionalized. Here and everywhere, human brutality against ourselves and others has been an unrelenting constant for the past 20,000 years. If anything, it's finally getting a little bit better. It's coming out of the closet. We're looking at ourselves. In America, there are an awful lot of skeletons being dragged out of the closet all at once. Racism, gay rights, women's rights, other animal rights. In the old days, white men could beat or even kill anybody they wanted with relative impunity. If they couldn't, they could go behind closed doors and vent their frustrations on the woman, child, or pet of their choice. And nobody made a peep. But people are peeping now. And the simple fact is that things often have to get worse before they can get better. In this case, though, the violence isn't actually worse. Don't buy the mirage. It's simply been pushed out of the closet. And nor is it just about white men. There are plenty who have suffered at the hands of non-white men. Plenty of children who have suffered at the hands of women. And plenty of younger children who have suffered at the hands of older children. Life is a measure of whom you're entitled to abuse. If you're ever feeling overwhelmed, just be glad you're not a gay, black, Jewish female teen. And the Derby, by the way, isn't actually dead. Even though it disappeared from the airwaves a couple decades ago, you might be startled to learn that the small towns of America, the ones that can't afford monster trucks, have kept the Derby alive. I mean, as you read this, somewhere out there, a driver with 2 cents in his pocket is gunning his engine and gritting his teeth, hoping that tonight is his night. Bless him. As the sage said, he's an idiot, but he's our idiot.